Every company has difference makers, the people who go above and beyond what's required. This podcast is dedicated to the people who challenge the status quo and make good companies great. Today, we're sharing one story from one company in our effort to inspire others. Welcome to Difference Makers. Today, my guest is Kevin Delory, Chief Lending Officer at EPM out of Atlanta, Georgia. Kevin is a highly recognized leader with a proven track record of delivering top-notch results. 18 years of sales leadership and mentorship. Kevin's a proponent of a winning attitude, fostering loyalty and accountability. It's my pleasure to have him. Kevin, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Thank you. Hey, Kev, let's just get right into it. I've been a big Kevin Delory fan for a long time. Tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, and we can get into the business stuff later, but this show's about people that make a difference, and you certainly do make a difference for a lot of people that work for you, with you, family, friends. To me, that's the measure of a man, and I think it's an interesting story. Can you tell me a little bit about your early years?
I lived my whole life in Warwick, Rhode Island. I moved away for a short time, but I'm the youngest of I had three older brothers, so four boys altogether. I was the youngest. So, growing up, I always wanted to be a history teacher, believe it or not. I went to Rhode Island College, got my degree in secondary ed. But really, my intentions were to go and be a history teacher. That lasted about a month. Then I realized they don't pay teachers nearly enough. And I decided to go, just kick around for a year or two. And I met someone in the mortgage business. And they said, I think you could be great at great being a loan officer. So I started off as a loan officer, believe it or not. I was only a loan officer for about 9 months, 10 months. And then immediately went to work for Option One. And then rose up Option One to Any Loan, which was New Century. Was there for a long period of time, Equifirst. And then the crash happened. We talk about this story a lot. That's why I really had to learn how to be a leader, because I had these guys that came with me from Equifirst and, obviously from New Century to Equifirst. And then when the market crashed, they all looked at me and said, what do we do? Mm-hmm. That's when I discovered I'm the leader of this group, right? And someone gave me some great advice. They said, find a small regional player to tough this out, but everything's secular. It will all come back. And then we moved on to Carrington. So that's really, how it started, me being a sales leader.
You were at Carrington for 8 years, 7 or 8 years?
A little over 8 years. Yeah.
Now you're at EPM and you're Chief Lending Officer. And again, we'll get into all that, but I'm going to take you back again. So grew up in Warwick. How do you say that? Warwick, Rhode Island. Okay. Who were some of your early influencers in life?
Probably, I'd say it's my older brothers, especially my older brother. He was always trying to do what he could to help everyone. He was a good friend. He was a good older brother. Mm-hmm. Anything I wanted growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, but my brother would work jobs to, help me and my brothers have things that he couldn't have. So, he really showed me what loyalty is, about being about your name, your reputation, be proud of your last name, and make sure you never disrespect that, right? So that's one thing to this day. My brand is very important to me. Of what I say, I should follow through and do it. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what's best for you. So that is probably the person that taught me that. And it was one of the most valuable lessons I've learned in life. Because you can make a ton of money. When I think about back to my, New Century days, I was one of the top account executives there, and it was all about, I was young and I didn't realize that too much money was just as problematic as not enough money. I wasn't a great leader. And then it was when the market crashed is really where I became a leader and went back to those core values of being about your name, your reputation, your word, being honorable. And that is what's been a game changer for me in my career. I think that's why people believe in me, they follow me, they want to work with me, is because of that.
What is the old saying? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Did you have an easy upbringing? What was your childhood like?
No, my parents got divorced when I was very young. Still grew up with a single mom who, did the best she could to support, four boys, which isn't cheap, as you can imagine. We could do some damage in the grocery department. have nice clothes. I think so. It was a challenge. That's why, again, my older brother really was, stepped in and helped out, which was an admirable thing to me. And I realized, you take care of the people that mean something to you, it will pay you dividends tenfold. And in my personal and professional life, I've experienced that. I got some great friends, and they're all really people that I've been working with for 20 years. They have followed me through. Someone said to me once, you should never get friendly with people you manage. I disagree. I think if you're fair and honest, you can still have that friendship and still be honest and lead them and correct maybe if they have a behavior that's not right for, being successful, to have an honest conversation. But, like I said, this team has been together. I got some of these guys with me for 20 years.
Growing up with a single mom and a house full of boys, you guys didn't get in any trouble, did you?
Oh, never. My brothers were a handful. I learned a lot of things of what not to do from my two oldest brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my brother, that's just 2 years, he's 23 months older than me. We had it a lot easier, right? Because we learned from their mistakes. We watched what they did and said, we don't want to do that. We don't want to go down that road. Mm-hmm. So it was good and bad, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
How was it bad?
It was bad because, you got a reputation in the neighborhood. My brothers were tough guys and, and you would, they did some, they were troublemakers. Let's say that. And nobody ever wanted to mess with them because there was four of us and there was four boys, and being the youngest, I knew that. I knew that my brothers were, on the tougher side. So as a guy that was the shortest in the neighborhood, and my older brothers being, 5'10" to 6'2", and here I am at, 5'6". I probably, I learned to use my mouth as my weapon because I couldn't use my hands, but I knew I had three older brothers that would take care of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you had to be tougher too. You had to have a tougher exterior. I grew up in Massachusetts. So in the Boston area, you had to be able to defend yourself. And it started for me at the bus stop. I mean, you start when you're young, you're picked on, and if you don't stand up for yourself, it's crazy. Like the bullying stuff that they've taken care of, it seems now in the schools, thank God, right? Because I never wanted my kid to grow up in the environment I grew up in, where you went to school and you had to defend yourself, or you had to, you had these groups that defended each other. And I mean, we had daily fights on the, after lunch in the parking lot, so it's a rough area to grow up in, and especially, I know that you didn't have it easy. So that obviously breeds this tough exterior, right? Like I don't want to classify people from the South, from the North, or create any division, but when you grow up in the city areas like we did, it causes you to have this tough exterior, right? Like it's bred into you, it's born into you, and I think that is an advantage when you get older into business, into life, and to handling the stresses that life can bring you. So you mentioned you wanted to be a history teacher. Is that something you've obviously had an interest in, is American history or world history?
Growing up, it was, I had a teacher that was, my freshman year, and I'm like, wow, this seems like a pretty cool job here to get to talk about things that you like. And I was into history. Mm-hmm. But then, like I said, when you realize, geez, how do you support a family? I'm a school teacher, and it's funny because my wife is a school teacher now, and she teaches fourth grade. It's just a different world. It's a different lifestyle. And I'm fast paced, and I don't take, to your point, I got a tough exterior, but if I, you're my friend, you get to see a side of me that no one else does.
Yeah.
Business. But I'm probably one of the most generous and kind people. And a lot of people don't ever get to see that because it's business. I got to be 100 miles an hour and do what's best for whatever company I'm working for, right? So that's something when people say, once Kevin Delory is the nicest guy you ever want to meet, people in business won't believe that. They say that guy, he's tough, but I'm fair, right? But you have to be in this business.
Well, you mentioned that you took a liking to history. So if you could go back in history, in time, any period, who would you come back as? Who would you be?
Tough.
Don't say Tom Brady.
No, definitely not Tom Brady. I'm older than Tom Brady. I couldn't. Let's see. I'd probably say, God, that is a good one. Wow. Yeah, I think you got me stumped. I would probably, I would go with probably Ronald Reagan.
Ooh,
He had the life. He's a movie star and then he got to run the country. I mean, geez, doesn't get much better than that.
that's a good one. That's a good one. We all kind of find our path in life professionally. Some of us are more fortunate than others. Some of us find peace and happiness in an industry that maybe doesn't even pay that well. Like, because money doesn't, like you said, I made the money, but money doesn't bring happiness, right? Doesn't bring those core values and that inner contentedness that we all want as human beings. But sure does make things a lot easier. What has captured your attention for so long in the mortgage business? Like, why'd you stay in it after the crash in 2008? I mean, you could have easily pivoted like a lot of people did. So what's captured your interest in the mortgage industry to this point?
You said, I want to address that. You said in the beginning, about not enough money. I was making a lot of money in New Century. What changed my life is I had a older brother who passed away, and the market had crashed, and here I was sitting, in this big home and all these bills, and I'm like, how do I do this? Well, I'm a survivor, and then, that maybe a month later, my brother passes, and I realized that money isn't everything, right? If you don't have your name, your reputation, your word, it's love, honor, and respect. If you don't have those things, you're bankrupt as a person. So that kind of changed my life and changed the way I thought about things. But as far as the second part of the question, the mortgage business, I didn't want anything to beat me. I was up for the challenge, right? So when the market crashed, you're right. A lot of my friends went to the insurance business, went to the appraisal side. They all shuffled around and went to different industries. But I knew that if I just, did if I gave everything I got to it, I would be successful and I would survive. And I did. It wasn't easy. I worked for a small regional player for about 4 years in Mid Island, while the market kind of settled, and it was tough, but made it through. And I kept my team together. I kept them all employed. And I would do anything for them. And a lot of my time was spent just helping them make more money, right? Because there's no better feeling, like I said, after my brother passed, to watch other people get joy out of what you bring to the table. And I think that's what keeps me going. To take a young guy that's never been in the business, and all of a sudden now he's, making six figures. To me, that's the best feeling.
I guess I want to dive deeper. So how do you get there? Like some people can't get unstuck when they get stuck, right? They can't get unstuck. My son played college baseball, grew up undersized. A lot of the kids that he grew up with were more physically developed at a younger age. He ended up filling in later in life. But the way he kept up with them, I'm so proud of the way he competed and stayed up with them as more of an undersized guy. He was an infielder, so he took, it's putting in the work. Like I always told him, look, I don't know what to tell you except to work harder. I don't know any other way when life hits you than to dig in and work harder. I mean, that's been my sort of what I've defaulted to my whole life. Just work harder, outwork the next guy. To me, that blue collar approach, like my son took 1,000 ground balls a week. He took 200 swings a day, just worked his way to the point where he could compete at the highest levels. That's kind of like you. I've followed your career. I've seen what you've done. I've seen where you've come from. You've never quit, which is interesting because a lot of people, you lost your brother. That's a huge blow. And yet I'm sure it took you off put you on your heels initially, but how a person comes back from something like that, like, would you agree? Work ethic, just putting your head down and outworking the next guy, just working harder, just keep working.
It's the grind, right? Like if something's not working for me, I just put in more time, right? I always say activity equals results. I get out of bed, I drop my daughter at school. I'm here at 7:30. If I have to be here at 7:00 at night to finish what I need to finish, it's whatever it takes. So I agree with you 100%. It's the grind. These people that want to have the title and come in, work 9 to 5, something any day of the week, I'll put my, ability up against theirs, right? It's just, to your son's point, right? He grind, and you'll be successful if you do that. But if you think you're going to put the bare minimum in and want to be a superstar, it's not going to happen. So that 100% right there. I have that blue collar work ethic where I grind. I don't like to lose. I don't like to fail. And the more, I just put the activity in. If I see that, I'm not a guy that waits to the end of the day to say, I didn't do enough today. At 2:00 in the afternoon, if I see things not going the right way, I tell this to all my sales leaders. If you know your team's not delivering by 2:00 in the afternoon, take action at 2. Don't wait until the next day to say, oh, wow, we had a bad day yesterday. So it's all to me about the grind and staying on top of it and have a goal for the day. Every day I have a goal. Every day, if it's, I don't care, right now I'm rebuilding, right? So my goal is every day to put in 500 contacts. And they're like, why are you doing that? I'm like, that's my goal. Because I want to make sure my team's successful. I want to take EPM to the next level. And I got to put the time and effort in to do that. So
That's
it's the
awesome. That's awesome. And I tell you, it's real noticeable because really, Kev, you've come from really nowhere. For me, I mean, look, we're both fortunate, right? I shouldn't be where I'm at. I saw a little opening, a little opportunity, and I outworked everybody around me. That's how I see you, and that's why I think you and I probably connect as well as we do. And it's the reason I coined the phrase that you're the Tom Brady of the mortgage business, and I introduced you that way. It's not because we're both Patriots fans. It's because Brady was a 199th pick, 6th round draft choice. I don't know, 7 or 8 quarterbacks taken ahead of him, and yet he outworked them all, and he's the greatest of all time. To me, that's the epitome of the American dream. To me, that's the epitome of the opportunity that we have in this country. So what you've done doesn't go unnoticed, and you're highly respected in the business. So whether you've been told that or not before, I see the whole industry. I talk to a lot of people, and you have a sterling reputation for that, for somebody that gets results, that builds loyalty, and can be trusted. So kudos to you on that. How do you inspire the loyalty with your people? Do you just live it, or do you talk about it? How do you inspire that? How do you get your people to stay with you, to be loyal to you?
I mean, listen, I live it. I'm not someone that's going to come out with an inspirational speech and not be able to back it up. I don't, when I say something to someone, I mean it. I learned a long time ago, your words mean something, especially after my brother's passing. I didn't use enough words to tell him how I felt about it. And that's one of my biggest regrets. So today, when I say something, I follow through. That's the difference. I think a lot of people want to make you feel good, and they give you those key words to pump you up, and they think they're loyal.
Yeah.
But it's about your actions, right? I mean, there's no one that, if any one of these people call me at midnight and said, I need a ride from somewhere, get out of my bed and do it, because they're like family to me. They've been with me for so long. I feel responsible for their success and their failures. If someone's not doing well, I feel like it's, on me. What can I do different? So, that goes a long way with people. They know you're real. And I just try to be as real as possible.
Difference Makers is powered by Verity Search. In today's competitive war for talent, they understand recruiting requires having a strong sales and marketing approach. Recruiting is not posting jobs online and waiting for unqualified people to apply. It's active, it's engaging, and it's working with people while maintaining extreme confidentiality. Their solutions and techniques are innovative and brave, but based on industry knowledge and key identification strategies. Some of the key services include strategy planning, research, marketing, prospect identification, qualification, and recruitment across all markets and geographies. If you'd like more information, please check out the website at veritysearch.com. What makes a great leader?
Being willing to do the actions of you ask of your team. I love when someone says, well, today you should be able to call on 50 brokers and you should be able to get these loans in. Are you willing to do it? I would say many are. Am I willing to do it? Absolutely. I will never ask them to do something. If they're in past lives, I've had issues with brokers where they didn't get treated so well. They were yelling and screaming. And I said to the account executive, let me make that phone call for you. You can stay on the phone with me. I'm going to take this for you. I'm at the top. I deserve it. So I think that is one thing that I say to my team all the time. I will never ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do on my own. So I think that goes a long way with people, because there's a lot of people that just give you mouth music, and that's not who I am.
Lead by example.
100%. My very first boss once asked me, very first job in the mortgage industry, said, "Hey, if I was in a foxhole and I said charge, would you run out there and charge?" I said, "No." And he said, "Why not?" I said, "I don't know you well enough. How do I know you? I'm not going to run out there and you stay in the foxhole." Right? He asked me that same question 6 months later. I said, "Absolutely. I'd charge the way and jump in front of a bullet for you," because he was that type of leader. So that's the leader that I inspire to be. I want to be the guy that when I say charge, everyone runs out there and takes the bullet.
But by asking you that question, he planted a seed in you that he wanted to earn that trust, right? And now from that day forward, you were in evaluation mode. Is this a guy I'm going to be in a foxhole with that I'm going to trust, right? So you put yourself out there with your team like that, the way you do, and you deliver. And like you said, you're willing to do anything you're asking them to do. You're willing to do it, and you're following through on your words. Talked about a lot of good stuff here, but let's talk about mistakes, because we all make them. Weaknesses, we all have them. No one likes to talk about them, but what's your biggest mistake as a leader, and what have you learned from that?
As a leader, actually, I think the last few years, maybe I've made a mistake of being too worried about getting the next step of my career and kind of losing focus of, I've always stood up for my people. But sometimes you'll go with the flow because you're worried about, now I have a 5-year-old daughter. I have a family to take care of. It's a little different in my life. In my younger days, I would just get up and leave. So I think that's probably been my biggest mistake. I said some things that to go with the flow that I didn't 100% buy into, but I wanted to show that I was a good leader and I could get through the tough times. And I carried the company line versus being honest with myself. I was always honest with my people, but to myself, saying I need to stand up and push back. But when we all have to, a job to do, so you try to, you want to make your bosses happier as well, right? The mistake I made was I lost, not that I lose focus, I wasn't true to myself for the first time in my career. And great lesson learned. You know why? Because now here at EPM, Eddie, Eddie very well. It's open door policy. I can say what I want. We have a great conversation. He said, you lead this. I'm just here to support you. So, I made a commitment to the team. Listen, 100%. I'll never put this team in that situation ever again.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, because sometimes we get caught up in playing the game, right? Like we think that that's part of it. And at the end of the day, like you said, you end up sacrificing your belief system. And then even if you get there, you're not happy about it. You're not happy about the way you got there, right? So what a great lesson. And now you take that into this new opportunity and you're going to be 10 times better, right? What drives you to win? What is it about really getting to the core of it? Like, what is it that you wake up in the morning and I want to win? Like look at Tom Brady. He's 44 years old. What is it about that guy? He gets up in the morning and he still feels like he was overlooked. He's still, in his mind, I've not arrived. I'm not the GOAT. I'm 44. I'm going to lose my job soon. What is it that drives you every single day to get up and win?
I think probably growing up the way I did, thinking that other people were better off than I was, and I never wanted to be put in that situation. I think I just don't like to lose. I get up every day with something to prove to someone. Anyone I use for my fuel, anyone that ever doubted me, my career, anyone that ever said, he's a great AE but not a great leader, or he can put up numbers because they gave him the right accounts. So I just carry that with me every day because I want to be the best of the best. I want to prove to myself, my mission here is to get, EPM is a top 10 wholesale lender. And I will get up every morning willing to do whatever it takes and put in the hard work and the hours it takes, to build this, to be that. Because I'm always worried about not feeling like I'm because of the way I grew up, not equal to everyone else. I think that's something that pushes me every day.
Well, you are. Everybody's the same. It's just, we all have different opportunities and what we make of them and what our influences are coming up that I think often drive what we're able to ultimately achieve, right? Being true to yourself. And like you just talked about 5 seconds ago, it's a lot of people, those moments go by and they don't grab them and there's no that inner thirst for understanding and knowledge, and I don't know how to describe it either, except that there's a drive that's either in you or it isn't. I think at an early age, and being overlooked, feeling overlooked, and feeling like there's something to prove, that can really drive huge results. Especially in business. Um, what drives you crazy?
Well, it drives me crazy. Geez. Someone not seeing their potential, somebody that doesn't want to put the work in, and then will complain about the results. Drives me bananas. Own it. I always believe in own it. I'm a big fan of, if I make a mistake, I will raise my hand and say, I apologize, I made a mistake. Let me, I'll make sure it never happens again. But for the people that just want to point the fingers at everyone else, if this is what it is, or don't want to own their mistakes, that drives me crazy. It makes my skin crawl when I hear somebody making an excuse for their actions when I know their intentions were real. They got the reaction they wanted out of you. They don't want to have to apologize, but now they're going to, spin it around. And I always say that I'm unspinnable. When people call me, like, try to spin me why it's not their mistake, I just sit there and just own it. I'd have so much more respect for you if you owned it and move on. That drives me crazy. People just don't want to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
Or they don't want to put in as much effort, and they measure their results against somebody who's putting in more effort. That drives me insane too. Like, you leave at 5 o'clock, or you quit at 5. I tell my guys, look, we're here in Florida. You quit at 5 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock in California. They're just coming out of their lunch coma. There's still opportunity there, and that drives me insane too. I'm the same way. I'm just like that. You've been recognized as one of National Mortgage most connected mortgage professionals, and NMP, I think it is, National Mortgage Professional. Or how has the importance of personal branding in your mind, and marketing and social media, how has that changed in the past few years?
Yeah, I was never big on the branding and the social media stuff, because I felt like Facebook was for my family and I wanted to keep it separate. But LinkedIn I found to be very powerful. That's where I have over the maximum number of contacts of 30,000. I find that I've created this network, this group of top tier account executives, top tier mortgage professionals, whether underwriters, account managers, where I'm able to share my messaging of who I am and to share my successes of some of my peers. And it's shocking how many will reach out to me and ask, hey, I want to work with you. I heard about you. And the ones they heard about it was from LinkedIn. So yeah, it's been very different. In the past, you'd have to pick up the phone and dial or email 100 people to see who was interested in working for you. And now with this platform, I'm in front of this audience where they're reaching out to me saying, wow, you're the type of leader I want to work for. So it's been nice to be on the other side of that rather than chasing them down.
Yeah, I hired a social media coach at one time to try to understand it, because I'm a bit of a dinosaur. I'm 55 years old, and I still don't understand Snapchat. I'm never going to use it. It's the worst app ever. But yeah, I'm like you. I keep Facebook for family and friends, just to sort of document memories, right? But LinkedIn is quite powerful, and one of my social media coaches taught me that people now, because with robocalling and auto warranties and all this stuff, people aren't picking up the phone as much as they used to. Back in the day when I started recruiting, I'd have 50 names. I'd talk to 35 of them. They'd pick up the phone. Today, if they don't recognize the number, that 70-80% of them aren't picking up the phone. So the world has defaulted into a texting and social media sort of platform. And he taught me that people will never do business with you until they know who you are, what you stand for, and what you stand against. And the way that they measure you is through social media now. It's like a snapshot or a glimpse into who you are, and then at that point they form opinions of you. Whereas before, I could just pick up the phone and build a relationship right out of the gate on the telephone. Can't do that as much anymore. So social media has become so important. And I've seen some of the videos you've done, and they're good videos. It's a good message. It's good communication. And do you plan on doing more of that?
Absolutely. I think it's always good to give back to the brokers. Where I sit, I get to see a lot of maybe the things they're not doing the way I think they should do it to get more business, right? I'm not saying I always have the answer, but anytime I give them feedback to recognize, hey, here's what you should be looking at if you want to really do manual underwritten loans, or here's what you should be looking at VA. So I think it's a great way to give back really to the brokers and help them. And I get a lot of good feedback. It's funny. I was just going through some emails and someone said, hey, these are great videos. I use them actually in the training of my loan offices. So anytime you can give them something, listen, I don't claim to know it all, but I think I see enough loans throughout the course of a day to know how to, read a credit report for a VA if it's, 580 going this way or 580 going that way. So anytime I could give back to the broker community, I take chance to do that.
What's most important in your mind to the mortgage broker as a mortgage wholesaler, which, is the division that you run? You're a mortgage broker. What's the most important thing to you?
I think it goes back to the same thing. It's loyalty, right? Treat the broker the same way. I want them to understand that their business is just as important to me as it is to them. And that means, being a member of AIM, right? And not, going after their customer after 6 months. So those type of things, you want to be a partner. You want to be a resource. And I think that's what's most important to them. People call me, and the file may not even be coming to me, and I will help them structure the loan, right? And tell them, hey, here's what you should be looking out for, because I'm their partner. When they need me, they'll come to me. But I think that's the number one thing, is to be a good partner, be a knowledgeable partner, and, respect the fact that they're the reason that we're in business. I think a lot of people don't. They look at a mortgage as an asset rather than this is how the broker is making their living. That customer belongs to the broker. They're not just another asset for us to accumulate and make money off of. When you start to get that attitude, you'll see the brokers turn away from you. So that's why, I was excited when I joined EPM. It's, they're a member of AIM, and they understand that it's the broker's client and it's not ours, right? At the end of the day, we want to treat them like it's ours, but it really belongs to that broker. We're the most important piece of making them successful and actually, basically making money so they can support their family and have a good life.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, there's a borrower at the end of every loan. I think sometimes the waters get a little muddy when it comes to wholesale, and people forget there's somebody waiting to make the biggest purchase of their life at the end of that loan.
Yeah.
You see it as another unit, and you can't do that.
Yeah, and you've got to close those loans, and you've got to provide excellent service, because, like you said, that person's got a moving truck packed in the parking lot, and they're just there to sign some documents, right? And if that loan doesn't close, what happens then? Then there's egg on the face, right? So service more important than price in your mind, right?
Oh, 100%. I think relationships and service, you see it all the time, especially, I see with this group of account executives, the loyalty that they have from their brokers, because the brokers know that, one, they have their best intention, and two, they're going to deliver, will beat out, it's probably worth 50 basis points to most brokers, because they know what they're getting. And that's a true partner that cares about them and cares about their success.
I know you speak a lot about your daughter, and I know that you love your family very much. So tell me a little bit about what Kevin outside the office, what's that look like?
Well, as I said earlier, I don't like to lose. So I took up golf last year, and, it was funny. I've always had a golf cart, and I would drive back and forth to the pool, the country clubs on the next street. And everyone's like, you own 2 golf carts and you don't golf. What's wrong with you? So I took it up last year. And as I said, I don't like to lose. So after the year was over, I put a simulator in my garage and golfed all winter as well. So that is something that I got the bug, and I don't like to lose. So I play as much as I can to get as good as I can. But, spending time, when I come home at night, I have a very short commute. My office is 10 minutes from my house. So I don't really have time to unwind. So I try to always get on, I have a Segway, I go have a cigar and take 2 laps around my neighborhood and come home, and I spend some time with my daughter. She's an only child. She's 5. I got to be honest with you, 5 years ago, I didn't think I would ever, probably going back 10 years, I thought maybe I was never going to have a child, and, I just was okay with it getting married maybe again and whatever, but I'd be, at 44 to have my first child. I'm glad I waited, because it means so much more to me. But yeah, 100%, it's my daughter, then golf. Golf doesn't come before my daughter, in case my wife sees this. No, just kidding. But no, I got to tell you, I really do. After, when I lost my brother, it made me realize how important family was. So now, family first. I know some people in this business don't like that saying, but I truly believe it, because the people I work with are like my family. And if something's going on with their family, I'm the first one there, because it's really first. And these guys are my family.
So you take up golf, which is the most frustrating sport for almost any man alive. You start playing at 43 years old. 48,
I stopped playing that just last year.
What's that?
I'm 49, 48. Last year I stopped.
Oh, you said 44. Oh, that was starting your family. Okay, 48. You start playing golf at 48 years old. And Mr. Work Ethic here says, I'm not going to suck at this, and puts a simulator in his garage. That's just quintessential Kevin Delory right there. I have nothing to say. That's funny. It's fantastic too. Well, listen, are you going to be at the NAMB or the AIM conferences or anything like that?
Be at the AIM conference, be at Fuse. I'm looking forward to it. I've never been, previous company weren't a member of AIM. So this is going to be good to connect with maybe some new, brokers I haven't met before. I'm looking for everyone to stop by and, have a chat with them at the booth of what, EPM could do to make things easier for them, and what we could do to help them grow their business.
I think everybody appreciates the glimpse into the guy behind the glasses, to get an understanding of, kind of what makes you tick. And I've enjoyed the hell out of this one. So thank you very much. And I wish you the greatest success at EPM, and you're in good hands with Eddie and the team over there.
Thanks, Jim. I got to tell you, I've never talked so much about my history of growing up or my brothers. So this was, we got to know each other, like you said at the beginning. So it was like talking to a friend, over a cocktail. So this was really enjoyable. Thanks.
Well, now people are going to get a better idea of what makes you tick, and I get a sense that you'll be getting probably a few more phone calls along the lines of what you talked about earlier. Can I come work for you?
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thanks, man.